Buongiorno, buonasera, benvenuti amici, welcome my friends and welcome to my channel Fountain Pen Therapy. Well, what this video is all about is that I had this idea that we're always using, when I say we, the experienced collectors obviously appreciate Tomoe River and its various variations, etc. But the real question is there any other notebooks out there that may not have the same price point and that we could experiment with and see if we can find alternatives? And that's why the title is Notebook Alternatives. What I've done for you is that I've put together 7 notebooks that I've looked at, and there's a combination of notebooks and notepads, just to see if we could find any alternative to this this great product, which is Tomoe River. In my opinion, it's the best fountain pen paper on earth. Some people would challenge that, and I know there are, now Cosmo Air Light is out, and I've heard rumors that it might be disappearing. There is the Tomoe River variation that we will look at in this video, etc. But is there anything else? So what I did is I put together 7, and look, there's about 20 of them. We'll start with 7, and as I purchase others, I'll inform you. I'll let you know what the results are. And what I did is I took every notebook and I gone through some swatching and some testing with different pens, and hopefully you'll have a better idea if you're considering any purchases as to whether or not any of these notebooks and their price points meet with your requirements. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to my overhead camera, and we'll go through these 7 very quickly. The first one is this Italian notebook with Italian manufacturer by the name of Pigna. Very nice, and we'll go through that and see what the results are. Second one is I picked this up when I purchased my inks from Penbbs, and it was a whole adventure to try to get those inks. There wasn't, a website. We had to go through traders, etc., etc. But I tagged on this notebook, and I finally had a chance to test it. So that's the Penbbs Notebook. After that, I was always curious, when you visit in Canada, it's Staples. In Canada, it's called something else, but essentially the Staples store. And I saw this black and red. I was always curious to see it. It looked like a nice notebook, and I put it through a test, and we'll see what that notebook gives. Then I purchased quite a bit of these pads. It's your basic Amazon Basics notepad. This is the graph paper, and you can get it with lined paper, etc. So I tested that one as well. Then I discovered three additional sources, and I bought them all off Etsy, and I will provide the exact details in my description. This nice notebook with a plastic cover is by the name of B7 Bulky. Strange name, but we'll see what that gives. I then had this other notepad, very nice notepad, very gorgeous paper, by the name of, and I don't want to get this, I keep forgetting this one, but I don't want to get it wrong, Corona Bright. So it's Corona Bright, and we'll see what this gives. So that's the Corona Bright. And then I finished off with a Tomoe River, just so that we can see the comparisons. This is the Tomoe River Sanzen. So it's Tomoe River 2.0, if you will. So those are those are my materials, if you will. And what we'll do now is we'll go through some testing, and I'll give you some of my conclusions. I did forget to mention one thing, and that is the way I'm testing these various materials is by using two inks. One of them is the Kanpeki Iroshiku. I can never pronounce it. Very nice ink, very wet, has some sheen, not an exaggerated sheen, but has sheen. The second one is another blue ink by the name of Colorverse Supernova, which has a little more sheen. So those two inks have been chosen as test inks to see whether or not any of the notebooks or the notepads bring that sheen out. So that's just an additional point for you to keep in mind when we review together the various notebooks and notepads. Okay, we'll be right back with the samples. It was a little bit of a surprise. The black and red, it's average. It doesn't give me any sheen. Very inexpensive, as I note. Smooth, but as I've noticed that it was like writing in clay. In other words, a little bit sticky for some reason, but smooth but sticky. It wasn't gliding, so. The paper is obviously not Tomoe River. It's thickish, but very inexpensive, and for an everyday use, I think it's doable. Even in the Colorverse, I didn't get any sheening. It's pretty standard stuff. So but it's an average, not a total disappointment. Just a little bit of sheen I noticed there with my Colorverse, but not very much. And we'll see the results at the end once I let all the samples dry. The second one was Amazon Basics. Interesting, very cheap. I bought several notepads like that. I used that at the office just to draw notes, and instead of using expensive Tomoe River paper. And very coarse, a lot of feedback. A little better with my Joya cursive 1.1, and much better with my Penlux, which, by the way, has just a fabulous nib. Yeah, with that thick italic, really wet, a gusher, if you will. It glided a little more, but again, I didn't see any sheen. I spelled Amazon wrong there. Even with my Colorverse Supernova, I would have expected some sheening, but I don't see any. So that's it for Amazon Basics. And we'll see what results. So we'll look at the next notebook. Yeah, this is the Italian notebook P di Pigna, which was a total disappointment. I just was expecting, very nice packaging as usual with the Italians. We're very good at that, but I got to tell you, the quality, the writing experience was null for me. I mean, this was a total failure as far as I'm concerned. Even that smooth nib, was struggling. It's scratchy, coarse, didn't know what to think. Even with my Penlux, which is just buttery smooth, I was feathering. It looked like thick paper that you can probably paint watercolor on. It just what a total. Even with that wet italic Colorverse, it gave me a little bit of sheening. When you look at, I think the final results, we'll take a look at it. Look at the feathering there. It just, you know what? I spent a lot of money for this paper, thinking that I had discovered something. When I saw it in one of the videos on YouTube. There's some sheening there, but No, boys and girls, don't recommend it. Next, Pen BBS. Yeah, I purchased this when I purchased the inks. Went through half of the world to get them, but there you go. You know, it's an interesting notebook. It's an A5. It's got a nice shape, very nice cover. Mixed feelings about this one. I would say it's average. Nothing to write home about. I wouldn't use it as a daily writer to keep my my more important notes. But you got a little better result with the Penlux, and much even better with the with italic. But I don't. I just didn't appreciate it. The writing experience was, average or even less than average, frankly, and that's that. But at least we tried it because it was very inexpensive. That I can tell you. Next, now we're my top three. The first one is this B7 bulky, as it's referred to in Etsy. And I'll give you all the site, the exact descriptions, and in the exact links in my description below. But I was very, very pleased. Very nice writing experience, both with the Joya cursive and with the Penlux, which is buttery smooth, even better, and with that gusher with my italic. You can definitely appreciate them. And you can start to see the sheen on the Konpeki above, and the colorverse, well, the sheen is there right from the get-go. Very cooperative, no feathering, smooth. Just an A, I think, and we'll see the results at the end. Next. Okay, this is a notepad. Again, a name that I've never heard of. And very, very surprising, even better than the B7 bulky. This is referred to as the Corona Bright. Very Tomoe River-ish, if you will. So very, very, very smooth. A little bit of feedback, but interesting feedback. It didn't fight back, in other words. And with my Penlux, the 1.1, it was buttery smooth. And with that gusher italic, even fairly nice writing experience, as I mentioned in my notes there. And the sheen, you can see it. I mean, you can see the Konpeki coming through, and the colorverse right from the get-go is coming through, which is nice. So I know I can get sheen with this paper, and I can get smooth result. Not bad at all. I think I discovered something new. And then I ended with the Tomoe River paper, but it's the Tomoe River Sanzen. So if you will, it's the Tomoe River 2.0. So I was expecting, the best, and I did get the best. So I think I threw it in there just because it was my first Sanzen Tomoe River purchase, and I'm not disappointed. I haven't done a detailed comparison with the original, but I can tell you that this is not a disappointment at all. With all three pens, I got some very, very interesting results. It's a paper that I wouldn't hesitate to use in lieu of the original Tomoe River. The sheen comes right through, both in the Konpeki and obviously in the colorverse, right from the get-go, and I think we can see the results at the end. So again, very pleased. A+, very nice writing experience, and that's the end. And we'll take a look at the final results once it's was what the final result looked like after I've given it the time to fully dry. So on this black and red notebook, as you could see, there's not a much sheen in the inks. Now, usually both inks, be it the Konpeki or and especially the colorverse Supernova, do have quite a bit of sheen, but I don't see any on this paper. But I got to tell you, the paper wasn't bad. The paper wasn't bad, But, you know, obviously there was some, you can see some see-through, and there was some spillage on the next page here, and the big blobs certainly came through. And the paper is a fairly thick paper, but you know, if you write with a normal fountain pen, shouldn't have a problem. And these notebooks are fairly inexpensive, so something to recommend. If you don't mind not getting that sheen, this notebook is definitely something to consider, especially for the price. The next notebook, the Penbbs. There is some sheen. I mean, I see some sheen there on my the Konpeki. There's a little bit of sheen on my colorist. It's strange. I get more on my Konpeki than I do on my colorist, which is very unusual. But other than that, I don't see a lot. Unfortunately, there is some feathering with this Penbbs paper, and there is also, it's not the smoothest of writing experience. It is a little coarse, but it's not bad. Again, the blobs come through. The rest of the, you know, especially the normal cursive fountain pen survived. So, you know, I've got to say it's not bad. It's not one of my favorite, you know, not one of my favorite notebooks, but I think the price point also was very low for this. So, you know, it's Chinese. It goes with their pens, and I figured I'd give it a go and also show it to you. Then there's this Italian Pigna notebook. When I bought it, I had great hopes, but I was seriously disappointed. There is some sheen that came through both on my Colorverse and my Konpeki, but the writing experience was just awful. I've got to tell you. First of all, there's feathering. Secondly, it's not smooth at all. I mean, even my smooth, you know, a fairly smooth Joya 1.1 cursive nib had a lot of feedback. A lot of feedback from the paper. The paper is scratchy. It's coarse. I think the smoothest experience was with my, surprisingly enough, with my Italic 1.5 Bach nib, which was very wet and large. So that maybe explains everything. But I got to tell you, the rest, big disappointment. Spent a lot of money for this. I bought them in all kinds of formats. Very thick paper. In terms of does it bleed through? Well, not very much, just because of the thickness of the paper. And you could see that it survives. So it is fountain pen friendly, but you really got to find the right pen to write with. And maybe I just didn't have them. So I just don't like this paper, and it was a big disappointment, and that's too bad. But that's my verdict. Next on my list is my Amazon Basics. Amazon Basics Notepad. Yeah, you're not going to get, by the way, I spelled Amazon wrong here, but you're not going to get any major sheen there, okay, in any way, shape, or form. The paper is a lot of feedback, so you need a smooth nib and a wide nib to get the best results, in my opinion. But there's very little feathering for, you know, just an expensive notepad. And if you don't mind the fact that you don't get any sheen, I would recommend this paper. I really would. In terms of bleed through, you do get it. You did get the bleed through on the big blobs, unfortunately, as you can see here as well. It did survive, though, the simple cursive fountain pen. But anything that's thicker, like my 1.5 Bach, well, you can see that there is some bleed through there. So that's the Amazon. Again, just because of the price point, I would recommend it. But it doesn't give you that nice sheen effect. Now, this is and I don't want to get this wrong, so just bear with me. I'm just going to look at my notes here because I keep forgetting what this, okay. It's referred to as the B7 bulky natural color, 75 grams notebook. It has 320 pages. It's an A5 with a transparent cover. It comes with a cover. And I got to tell you, I think I discovered something here. I really, really like this paper or this notebook. First of all, surprisingly enough, I get some sheen. There's some sheen there with my Konpeki. I can see some sheen also with my red, and I forget what ink that is. I get some sheening as well, the sheening and the camera. There you go. You see the sheening on the Colorverse, the Supernova. Very cooperative paper, no feathering, smooth, fine writing experience. And for the price, this could be a Tomoe River replacement easily. So I bought it on Etsy, and I will put all the references in my description below. I invite you to take a look at it. It may be like a Cosmo Light replacement, and especially if Cosmo Light no longer exists, and I've heard rumors to that effect. Very nice. It comes even with a plastic cover, so I recommend this. This is probably my my #1 discovery. So that's my B7 bulky natural color. Okay, next on my list is my, this is a notepad. First of all, let me just, so you can see it all because it's an A4 sized. It's a notepad that has, indentations here so you can bend the notepad accordingly. I bought it in plain paper because not sure if they have it in any other format. It comes in, I believe it comes in only in white as well. There's a nice tear-off page there, so that's fine. And look, I got some sheen. I got sheen, lots of sheen on the Konpeki, lots of sheen on my Colorverse, much more, even more than my B7 that I just demonstrated. Very, very, very nice. And you know what? Good price. This thing is Tomoe River-ish, if you will. So the Corona Bright, 52 grams. In terms of bleed through, I even have sheen in my in the smaller nibs. Yeah, it has some breathe through and this big blob here, but otherwise very nice. Look at that. Very, very nice. I think this is excellent paper. I recommend it as a definite alternative. So that's my Corona Bright. Then I finish with this is Tomoe River, but it's the new Tomoe River Sanzen version. And of course, as you can see, I get the nice sheen in both the Konpeki and in the Colorverse. But when I compare it to my Color Bright, pretty close. I mean, pretty close. I get a very smooth with the cursive Joya, which is got some feedback in it. Even smoother with my Penlux, because my Penlux cursive 1.1 is probably the smoothest nib, smoothest stub nib that I have in my collection. And even with the, the 1.5 very wet Bach italic, fairly smooth, no feathering, very nice. Excellent writing experience. Obviously, it's Tomoe River. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed this. There are alternative notebooks out there. So I invite you, buy them, experiment with them, and maybe you find alternatives that are well priced and that you could use on a daily basis. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe. Take a look at all the references in my descriptions. Most of them were purchased from Etsy or Amazon. So there you have it. Have a great day and be well.